Okay, guys, we are back. Welcome to another session of Python fundamentals. We're not looking at for loops. We just did a problem with while loops. Now, let's do some for loops recap. Let's recap on for loops. Remember, a for loop, you write that down. A for loop, right, executes a set of statements, right? Or you can think of it like it executes a set of instructions for a specific number of times, right? So you determine you know how long the for loop is going to execute, right? And it's used to iterate, right, over a sequence. Remember back in data I've had sequence such as lists, dictionaries, tuples, and sets. We have not yet delved into that right now, but we will get to that soon. So the for loop is used to iterate over the sequence types or other objects that can be iterated over, such as strings, right? We can use the for loop to iterate over a sequence of numbers using a special function called the range function, right? So I think it is a good place to start by explaining the range function, right? So the range function essentially is a function that generates a sequence of numbers, right? And there are three forms, right, of it. You can have a number, and you can specify the number of the number of numbers. Wow, okay. You want to generate how the sequence, so where it should stop, right? So if you say 10, it's going to go up to 0, start from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to go 10 numbers. So it'll stop at 9. So 0 to 9 is 10, right? If I'm not mistaken. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to say, so how you execute a for loop in Python, you write for, and I'm going to say for num, I'm going to say in this range of, what did we say? 10. And then there's going to be a colon, and you see the indentation. I'm going to say print, right? The number, right? So for keyword number in this sequence. So for every number in this sequence, I want you to print the sequence. And if I run this, okay, let me just clear this. This is from our previous solution. And if I run this, this should, you see it? So prints, there you go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. So it's going to print out each number that is in this range. And remember, this range is from 0, and you put a comment 0 to 9. And there are 10 numbers in this range, including 0, including 9, right? So that is one way to use the for loop, the range function. Another format of using this is specifying the start and the stop, right? If I'm not mistaken. So you say for num in range, and I'm going to start at 1, and this time go to 10. And it's going to start at 1, and it's the range between 10 and 1. So that's going to be 10 minus 1, so 9. So it's going to stop at 9. So the last is not inclusive. So let's check that out. I'm going to say print num, right? And I'm going to comment. Actually, let's run them both sequentially. And no. And then you exit that. And let me do that. Sorry. So like you see, so it went 0 to 9. And then it did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10 was not included. It's not included, right? And then the third format, let me just print this out. All right. And then let's, so that we can see that again clear. And I'm going to run Python. So 1, 2, 9, right? So that's that format where you specify the start and the end, right? And the end is not inclusive. So 1 till before the end. So if you just want to know where it's going to stop, you can just do 10. You can just do end or stop minus the start, right? And then you get the number, the last number. So another one is for num in range 1. Let's say the start is 1 and the end is 10. And then there's now the step, right? And we can say the step essentially from this range of 1 to 10, how many steps should we jump, right? So if I say 2, it's going to go 1, then plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9, all right? And there's nothing after that. Let's see. And I will comment this out, right? And okay, I forgot to put the colon and then enter. Remember the indentation or a tab space. And then I say print num. And then I'm going to comment this out. And then I'm going to run it again. And let's see. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right? So this is how a for loop works in simplest form, where we have a sequence and we can iterate over the items in this sequence, right? So we will do some exercises using the for loop so we can see how to implement it. So I have written down a simple exercise for us to get used to for loops, right? So it says calculate the sum of numbers from 1 to 10, right? So therefore, so essentially 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 all the way to 100. How do you do that, right? You could write out that sequence and then find the sum. Something like sum is equals to 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus, you could do that. But yeah, we'll be here for quite a while. So now we can use the for loop to do that, right? First things first, we just learned about the range function. So I want to generate a sequence from 1 to 100, right? Including 100. So therefore, I'm going to do something like for num in range, right, of 1 to 100. Is that the correct? If you remember, I told you that if you subtract this number, if you subtract the start from the end, you'll get the last number that is generated in the sequence. So 100 minus 1 is 99, but we want 100. Therefore, we should have this as 101, right? So in the previous lesson or in the previous exercise just now, I showed you that we could now access that number, right? We can say print num. However, we can do a lot more with that, right? So I could do something like add for each number, add to the previous number, but I have to be able to store that previous number, right? So to do that, I am going to create another variable, and I'm going to call this variable total. And I'm going to initialize it to 0 or assign the value 0, right? Now what happens is as I loop through this sequence, right? This sequence. Yeah, I'm going to make going to add that number to total. So to do that, I'm going to say total is equals to total, right? So the total is equals to the total plus the number, right? Okay. So let me just show you that how that would work. So when we start, right, the first iteration, num is 1, right? At the first iteration, right, 1, the first number is 1. And then total is 0, right? Total is 0. Then so that's going to be 0 plus 1, and therefore total becomes 1. Then for the next iteration, num is 2. And remember, total was 1 and plus 2. Then total becomes also 1 plus 2, 3, right? And then from the next iteration, num is 3. Total is 3 plus 3. That becomes 6 and so forth until we get to 100, right? And we're going to do that. I think what I should do, I think what I will do, I will say print. I wanted to show, actually, I'll say print total, right? And you can call it, make it an F string. Let's make it an F string. And we're going to say running total, right? Because we're running it. And then we'll do that, all right? So on the first iteration, that should be 1, 2, 3, and so forth, right? And I will also say, let's show the num. That's outside of the string. So let's take that, put it in the string. And let's run it. Let's clear this. And then let's run.